Capricorn, take a breath, because the energy around your connection right now is shifting in a way you didn't expect. Someone has been watching your every move, not to love you freely, but to control the space between you. You may feel it in your body, that quiet tension, that unspoken pull like a storm that hasn't broken yet. Tonight, we're going deeper, into the truth they've been hiding, and the power you didn't realize you were holding. If you're ready to receive clarity, type "I'm open" in the comments. Now, let's step into the bigger story the universe is revealing for you. Capricorn, let me sit with you for a moment, just you and me, because something around you has been whispering louder than usual. There is a presence in your life, someone who refuses to step back, even when the air between you grows tight. You can feel it, can't you? That weight in the room when their name crosses your mind. That strange mix of longing and pressure, like someone is trying to hold your energy in their hands without ever asking if they should. They don't walk away because discomfort doesn't scare them. Losing control does. And somewhere inside, they've started to see you not as a partner, but as a challenge, a soul they want to bend, even if they don't say it aloud. I know you've sensed that shift. The way their silence isn't silence at all. It's a stance, a posture, a quiet push against your boundaries. Like they're waiting for you to give in first, to speak first, to prove something they never had the courage to ask for openly. This isn't the softness of love trying to grow. It's the tension of someone wrestling with their own reflection and using you as the mirror. And Capricorn, I wonder how long you've carried that feeling in your chest. That sense that every time you stand tall, someone tries to test the strength of your spine. Not because they want to know you deeply, but because they want to know if they can shape you. You are an earth sign, solid, steady, unmoved by cheap storms. But even the strongest mountain feels the tremor when another force pushes against it long enough. Tell me, have you noticed the way they linger around your energy even after a disagreement should have created space? How they circle back, not to heal, but to keep the tension alive, as if conflict is the only way they know how to stay close. It's a strange kind of attachment, one that doesn't come from love alone, but from a hunger to own what they cannot fully understand. And maybe that's the part that unsettles you the most, because deep down, you know you were never meant to be molded. Your heart chooses freely, or it does not choose at all. There is nothing wrong with the way you've been protecting your peace. Nothing wrong with stepping back when the emotional weather turns sharp. You're not avoiding connection, you're avoiding being tamed. And there's a difference, a sacred one. So breathe with me for a moment. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel the truth settling into place. Because what's unfolding here is not just about them. It's also about the way the universe has been preparing you to recognize when someone's interest is wrapped in control instead of care. And as we move forward, I want to take you somewhere deeper, into the part of this story where your strength begins to reshape the entire dynamic without you lifting a single finger. Let's walk there together. Capricorn, let me sit closer with you for a second, because the reason they haven't walked away isn't love alone. It runs deeper and a little darker than that. You know how some people carry their pride like armor. They hold it so tightly that it becomes the only way they feel safe. This person, they've wrapped themselves in that armor for so long, they can't imagine being the one who steps back first. Even when they're frustrated with you, even when the tension grows sharp, they stay. Not out of devotion, but because losing ground to you would feel unbearable to them. Almost like admitting something they don't know how to face. There's a part of them that whispers, if they walk away, they lose the edge. They lose the illusion of control they've been gripping with both hands. And Capricorn, I think you've sensed that. You've felt how their presence doesn't soften when things get hard. How instead of giving space, they stand their ground as if waiting for you to make the first move, just so they can tell themselves they've won a battle you were never trying to fight. It's a strange feeling, isn't it? To know you're cared for, yet also held in a tight fist of someone else's expectations. And you, of all signs, can feel the difference. You know when someone loves your strength and when someone is threatened by it. With them, you can almost hear the unspoken thought. I decide the pace. I decide when we speak. I decide how this ends. It's not that they want to hurt you, but they've lived so long in patterns of control that they mistake it for connection. They think holding on tightly keeps them from losing you. But all it does is keep them from meeting you heart to heart in the place where real love breathes. And maybe that's why you've been so quiet lately. Why you've been moving more carefully around your own emotions. Because part of you knows their pride isn't about you. It's about the battles they still haven't healed inside themselves. Let me ask you something, Capricorn. Have you noticed how the energy shifts when you refuse to play the game? When you don't react the way they expect? When you stand in your calm, your silence, your truth? It unsettles them. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because you're not giving them the reaction they're trying to control. There's a power in you that they can't quite name, a steadiness that doesn't break under someone else's storms. And the more you hold that center, the more their ego feels the tremor. But I don't want you to carry this as a weight. I want you to hear it as a reminder of just how strong your spirit has become, of how clearly you can now see what is yours to hold, and what was never yours to fix. And as the night opens a little wider around us, there's something else I want to share with you. Something about what they're truly seeking from you beneath all that pride. Stay with me. Let's breathe into that space together. Capricorn, let me talk to you the way a friend would speak on a quiet night when the room is dim and the truth feels easier to hear. What they want from you, it goes far beyond the surface. It is not just a message or a call or a moment of softness. It is something deeper, something they don't have the language for. They want you to respond on their terms, to reach for them first, to be the one who breaks the silence and tells them the discomfort between you is theirs to control. You see, in their mind, your calm feels like distance. Your patience feels like retreat. Your boundaries feel like rejection. And instead of sitting with their own fear, they try to shape you into the balm that soothes it. They want your voice to come in like a confession, your presence to feel like surrender, your energy to wrap around their insecurity and convince them they are not losing you. They replay thoughts like quiet mantras. Capricorn owes me clarity. Capricorn should be the one to fix this. But beneath all of those thoughts, there is something fragile and almost childlike that they don't show the world. It is the part of them that whispers, if Capricorn reaches out first, I must matter. I must still have power here. I must still be right. They want you to validate the story they tell themselves, to avoid touching the wounds they have avoided for years. And maybe you've sensed that. The way every conversation seems to tilt toward their need to feel right instead of real. The way they hold the connection like a scale, measuring who moves first instead of who feels deeply. But here's the thing you already know in your bones. Love is not a negotiation of control. It is not a scoreboard. It is not a doorway one person guards while the other waits for permission to enter. You have never been afraid of effort, Capricorn. You have never feared responsibility. But you do fear giving your heart to someone who mistakes your strength for something they can leverage instead of something they should honor. And I can hear the quiet in you when you think about it, the way your breath gets still, the way your instincts speak louder than your thoughts. You are not meant to bend just to soothe someone's ego. You are not meant to shrink so another person can feel taller. You deserve connection that meets you where you stand, where your voice isn't demanded but invited, where your truth isn't tested but received. And as you listen now, I wonder if you can feel what your spirit already knows, that this story isn't just about what they want from you. It's about what life is quietly preparing you to reclaim. Stay with me, Capricorn. There's something important unfolding in the space between what they ask for and what your soul can no longer give away. Capricorn, there's something I want to tell you gently. Something I want you to hear, not with your mind, but with that quiet place in your chest where truth settles before you even name it. If you were to step toward them first, if you softened, if you opened the door, if you tried to make peace before they did, you wouldn't be met with warmth. Not right away. I know that hurts to imagine. But I want to sit with you in that feeling for a moment. Because their reaction wouldn't come from their heart. It would come from their fear of losing the upper hand. There's a part of them that doesn't know what to do with tenderness unless they're the one controlling the timing. If you were the one to reach out, they might pull back for a while. Not because they want distance, but because they want you to feel the weight of their silence. They want to see if you will chase the connection the way they secretly chase control. They would step away just far enough to make you wonder what you did wrong, just long enough to make your stomach drop. And in their mind, that pause becomes proof that they still hold the power to shape your emotional weather. But, Capricorn, you and I both know that the universe never meant for love to feel like punishment. Your heart was not built to be trained like a stray thought. Your soul was not designed to kneel so someone else could feel taller. If you imagine yourself reaching out and then imagine the cold that might follow, there's a reason your spirit tenses. You can feel the truth behind the curtain long before the moment plays out. They're not trying to hurt you. They're trying to reassure themselves that you won't walk away. That even if they pull the string tighter, you will stay tied to them. But that is not love. That is fear dressed as strategy. And you deserve something far more honest than that. You deserve connection that expands when you move toward it, not one that retreats to keep you guessing. You deserve someone whose response softens your shoulders, not someone whose silence makes you hold your breath. Take a moment here. Let your body feel what your mind already knows. Let the truth settle the way evening light settles on quiet streets, because you've spent enough of your life carrying the weight of other people's insecurities. And sometimes the most shocking revelation is realizing that your patience was mistaken for permission. But stay with me, Capricorn, because the story does not end in the place where you bend. There is something else happening beneath the surface. Something shifting in the way they move around your energy, and in the way you're beginning to reclaim your own. Let's breathe into that space together and see what rises next. Capricorn, you know that moment when someone turns their back, but the air doesn't move the way goodbye usually feels. There's no release, no ending, just a pause that doesn't belong to silence. That's what it's like with them. When they pull away, it isn't closure, it isn't acceptance, it's theater. A performance built to make you wonder who holds the reins. You can almost feel it, can't you? The way they walk off just far enough for their footsteps to echo, but never far enough for the sound to fade. As if leaving is only a gesture and not the truth of what they want. Because the truth is simple, even if they'll never say it out loud. They are still drawn to you. Drawn to the steadiness you hold. Drawn to the way you don't crumble when they test the edges of your patience. Drawn to the quiet strength in your presence that makes their own inner chaos feel less unbearable. But when they return, and they always do, there's a shadow behind their eyes, a defensiveness. A hint of resentment wrapped around longing, as if coming back to you feels like losing a battle they never should have started in the first place. It's a strange push and pull, isn't it? They don't want to lose you, but they don't know how to meet you without trying to win. They want your warmth, but they guard themselves with coldness. They want closeness, but only on the terms that protect their pride. And you, sitting here listening, you've probably felt that mix so many times it leaves its own kind of ache. Not a sharp one, but the slow kind. The kind that asks quietly why someone would fight so hard for control when connection was already being offered to them with open hands. They don't walk away to end things. They walk away to see if you'll break, if you'll chase, if your heart will flinch enough to reassure them that the power they cling to hasn't slipped through their fingers. But you don't break like that, Capricorn. You don't move on command. You don't let someone else's insecurity decide the shape of your love. And maybe that's why their steps always circle back to you. Maybe that's why their energy keeps returning even after their words pretend otherwise. There is something about you that unsettles their fear and awakens their desire at the same time. Something solid, something unshakable, something they can't replace no matter how far they wander. But I want you to notice something gentle here. The story isn't really about whether they return. It's about the way you feel when they do. What rises in your chest, what tightens, what softens, what shifts. Stay with that for a breath, because your reaction holds a truth that might be guiding you toward a new understanding of your own heart and the direction it's quietly ready to take. Capricorn, I want to talk to you the way a person talks when they finally stop pretending, when the night is quiet and the truth rises without asking for permission. Because beneath everything that has unfolded between you and this person, there is your heart, your mind, your intuition, all standing together in a clarity you can no longer ignore. You are far more aware of this dynamic than they think. You've seen the patterns. You've watched the shifts in tone, the moments when affection turns into strategy, the places where love should soften, but instead stiffens into something competitive. And through all of it, you've stayed grounded in that quiet Capricorn way that makes people underestimate just how much you actually see. You're not confused, not anymore. You're tired. Tired of the same emotional loops repeating themselves like an old song you know too well. Tired of being the steady one in a connection where steadiness is treated as a weakness. Tired of carrying the weight of someone else's insecurity as if it were your responsibility to soothe. On the outside, you look calm, collected, unshaken, like someone who has mastered the art of silence. But inside, you've reached a place where pretending doesn't work anymore, where the part of you that once wanted to fix things has grown quiet because it finally understands you can't fix a story that keeps rewriting itself to protect someone else's ego. You've stopped bending, you've stopped shrinking, you've stopped trying to make their version of justice fit into a heart that was never built around control. And maybe that's the part that scares them. Not your silence, not your distance, but the fact that you're no longer playing the game they thought they could win. You've reclaimed something soft yet incredibly powerful. Your boundaries, your dignity. Your right to choose peace over chaos, even when chaos begs for your attention. And I wonder, Capricorn, have you noticed how your energy changes when you decide you're done fighting battles you never started? How your breath settles, how your body loosens, how your soul finally feels safe again. There is wisdom in what you're feeling now, a wisdom that doesn't shout. It stays close to the ground where truth has always lived in you. This isn't coldness, and it isn't avoidance. It's alignment. A deep knowing that the version of love they're offering no longer matches the version of love your spirit is ready to give. Sit with that for a moment. Let it soften the tension in your chest. Because what rises inside you now isn't resistance. It's awakening. And as this awakening settles, there is something else quietly preparing itself within you. Something that has been waiting for the right breath, the right stillness, to finally be heard. Capricorn, there's a truth living inside you that you don't always say out loud. A truth that has been growing slowly, quietly, like a light under your ribs that refuses to dim anymore. You've reached a point where your soul is clearer than your fears, where the person you're becoming no longer fits inside the version of life you once settled for. And maybe you haven't told anyone this. Maybe you barely allow yourself to think it some days. But you know you're ready for something that doesn't drain you, something that doesn't turn love into a test, something that feels like partnership instead of performance. There is a part of you that has already stepped forward, even if your body hasn't moved yet. A part that whispers, I deserve a connection that doesn't break me to keep me. I deserve love that honors me, not love that holds me hostage. You've carried so much strength for so long that people forget your heart needs gentleness too. Not pressure, not power plays, not someone trying to bend your truth just to soothe their own. And what you're realizing now, what you've been hiding even from yourself, is that you're ready to live in a way that reflects your worth instead of negotiating it. You want a connection where the air feels open, where your voice is welcome, where your boundaries are met with respect instead of resistance. You want a future where your growth is celebrated, not feared. And it isn't selfish to want that. It's honest. It's human. It's the kind of truth that rises only when a soul becomes tired of carrying what was never meant to be its burden. Sit with that for a moment. Feel how your chest loosens just hearing it spoken out loud. That relief you feel. That small exhale you didn't expect. That is the real you, the one who has been waiting for permission to walk toward a life that finally feels like yours. You're not running from love. You're running toward a healthier version of it, toward a connection that doesn't confuse chaos with passion or control with commitment. And the most beautiful part of all this is that the moment you choose yourself, the entire landscape of your future begins to shift. Doors you couldn't see before start to open. People who match your heart begin to appear. You're not breaking anything by stepping into this truth. You're building something. Something steady. Something warm. Something that won't require you to shrink or apologize or carry more than your share just to be loved. So breathe here with me. Let this clarity settle into your bones, because this desire you've been hiding, this quiet longing to rise into a life that reflects your worth, it isn't a passing feeling. It's your next chapter calling you with a voice that sounds a lot like your own. And when you're ready, Capricorn, that path is already waiting. Capricorn, when distance begins to form between you and someone, you feel it long before anything is said out loud. You feel it in the small shifts, the quiet moments, the places where energy used to move freely and now sits still, like air waiting for a storm to pass. And lately, you've been building a kind of wall, not out of anger, but out of self-protection. A quiet boundary made of truth and tiredness. A boundary that says, I won't play a game I never agreed to play. You're not pushing them away, you're simply refusing to be pulled into the same cycle that hurt you before. And that choice, Capricorn, that calm refusal, creates a silence they don't know how to sit with. Because the moment you step back, the moment you stop reacting the way they expect, their sense of control begins to slip through their fingers. And some people don't know what to do when the power they thought they had was never really theirs in the first place. So they reach. Not for you, but for comfort. For something familiar enough to distract them from the emptiness they feel when they can't reach you in the way they used to. Maybe it's an old connection. Maybe a familiar voice they lean on, just to keep themselves from drowning in the silence you left behind. But even then, even in those moments when they try to fill the space, their energy keeps drifting back to you, like a tide that can't help returning to shore. Because whatever this connection was, whatever fire existed between you two, it held a gravity they can't escape, not even when they try. But gravity alone isn't enough to build something worth keeping, and you sense that. You understand that distance doesn't always mean an ending. Sometimes it's the only way two souls can breathe again. The only way clarity can rise. The only way healing can begin in places too bruised to feel anything else. There's a quiet slowing happening here. A pause. Not punishment, not abandonment. Just life giving both of you space to recognize what is real and what was driven by fear. And maybe this is exactly what was needed. A moment where you no longer bend, where they no longer dictate the rhythm, where the connection itself has room to reveal what it actually is without the noise, without the tension, without the tug of power between you. It's strange, isn't it? How distance can feel both heavy and relieving at the same time. How a part of you misses what might have been, and another part finally exhales for the first time in months. Let yourself breathe here. Let this space be what it is. A chance to return to yourself. A chance for your heart to remember what calm feels like. Because in the quiet, you might discover that the real healing was never in fixing this connection. It was in reclaiming your own center after so long being pulled away from it. And from here, Capricorn, the path ahead begins to clear in ways you couldn't see until you stepped back. Capricorn, before we leave this moment together, I want you to hear something clearly. Not from me, but from the part of you that's been quietly guiding you all along. You didn't imagine the shifts. You didn't overreact. You didn't misread the signs. What you felt was real, and what you chose was strength. You are stepping out of a story that tried to contain you and into a version of yourself that refuses to dim just to keep someone else comfortable. And here's the unexpected truth, the one people rarely say out loud. Your healing isn't happening because you won the power struggle. Your healing is happening because you walked away from the struggle altogether. That's what shook the energy. That's what set everything in motion. You didn't need them to return. You didn't need their apology. What your soul needed was the moment you finally trusted your own clarity. And you did. You really did. So, if this message touched something in you tonight, let yourself say it out loud in the comments. Just a simple, I trust myself. Let those words anchor you and remind someone else in this community that they're not walking this path alone. And if you want to stay connected, if you want more readings that speak to your spirit the way this one did, hit subscribe, stay close, and let this space become part of your healing rhythm. Because your journey isn't ending here, not even close. There's another message on its way to you, Capricorn. Something you've been ready for even if you haven't had the language for it yet. So, rest tonight, breathe a little deeper, and know that the next chapter is already turning toward you. The story continues. And I'll be right here when you're ready for the next step.